Look at examples of using the window function with a given frame. In this report, we need to show the cumulative sales amount for each customer by quarter for the year 2000. This is where we can use the frame to calculate the cumulative amount. So we use the sum window function. The final data set is divided into partitions by customers. We end up with 3 partitions. Each part consists of 4 rows and shows the sales for a certain quarter. The rows within a partition are sorted by quarter number. Within each partition we allocate a frame. The frame will start in the first row of the partition and end in the current row. Once the frame is defined, the sum function will be applied to all rows. So, for the first row of the partition, the frame consists of 1 row, so the cumulative sum in the first row is equal to the sales in the first quarter. In the second row of the partition, the frame expands to include first and second quarter sales. In the last line of the partition, the frame consists of 4 lines, and therefore the cumulative sum for the fourth quarter equals sales for the entire year 2000 for the selected customer. The moment the current row is moved to the next partition, the process repeats all over again. Let's change the current solution and move the window definition to the Windows section, and add another column using the arrayAg function. This function has the same window definition as the sum function for calculating the cumulative sum. The arrayAg function shows which values are included in the cumulative sum calculation. This function can be useful to check if you have correctly defined the frame for calculating any window function. Now let's add the exclude current row option to the current solution to exclude sales data for the current quarter. As a result, for the first quarter, the cum sales column takes the value null. For the second quarter, the sum window function will return first quarter sales. For the fourth, it will return the sum of sales for the first, second, and third quarters. Another frequent example of using window functions with a given frame is the calculation of a so-called centered moving average. This report shows the number of sales by day for 1 week. The last column shows the average sales of the previous day, the current day, and the next day. Thus, to calculate this column, we need to set a window that starts 1 day before the current one and ends the next day after the current one. The use of this construction is possible because the time ID field, by which the sorting is done, has the date type. As a result, the average function is applied to the resulting frame, and we get a centered moving average. The following report shows the number of sales by quarter for the year 2000. For each quarter, we display the sum of sales for the current quarter, the previous quarter, and compare the 2 values in both absolute numbers and percentages. The column for the previous quarter is formed using the first value window function. This function returns the first value in a given data frame. Thus, we'll look at one line before the current line and return the value of sales for the previous quarter. For the first quarter, the first value function will return the sales value, since the frame at that point consists of only one line. In the case of this report, we add a case in the external query where we substitute the value of n/a for the first quarter. For the second quarter, the function first value will return the value of sales for the first quarter, since the frame consists of 2 lines and looks at one line before the current one and returns the value of sales for the previous quarter, that is, the first one. The following example shows the difference between the range and groups modes. The report shows sales by one of the channels for 1 year. The data is aggregated to a month. We use the first value function twice in the query, but in the first case the frameworks are in range mode, and in the second case it works in groups mode. We can see that for the first 3 lines, these functions return the same result. We can see the difference in the line with sales for the 10th month. In the range mode, offset of units means the maximum difference between the values of the sorted column in the current row and the previous one. We have no sales data for the 9th month, so the beginning of the frame matches the current row, and the first value function for the 10th month will return sales for the 10th month. In the groups mode, the shift of 1 means shift relative to the current row or group of related rows. In our case, the beginning of the frame coincides with the previous line, and the first value function for the 10th month will return sales for the 5th month.